Call the meeting to order. Have an invocation.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you've given us. We thank you for just a day to work, a day to represent you. And Father, I ask your blessing tonight on this city council. I pray that you grant them wisdom and strength, help them to see clearly things that you guide them with in making decisions. And I pray that, Father, you would be with our city here in Concordia, that, Father, we might be able to live peaceful lives because of the laws that we have, and Father, because of the leadership that we have here, trying to make just a peaceful community. I thank you, Father, for them and for their service. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Changes to the agenda. Second. Been a motion by Commissioner Wentz, a second by Commissioner Belden to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes. Public comments. This is the time where citizens are encouraged to speak publicly. We request that you state your name and address, speak respectfully, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Are there any public comments? Okay. Discussion agenda, the South Development Water Main Extension.
Mayor and Commissioners, in your packet, there is a copy of the plat of the South Development area. And we'll look at those tracks that are located just south, between College Drive and 21st Street, right along Highway 81. There's two platted tracks, lots 1 and 2 toward the south. And those are the tracks that are owned by the city. And there's a lot immediately north, which is the track that is in question when we talk about a reference to eminent development. The track to the north of that is Taco John's, and the one closest to 21st Street is Pizza Hut, just for some reference, points of reference there. When the flood control area was developed, there were some utilities that were put into place. The water line to serve these lots along Highway 81 was not part of that. The sewer is in place on the backside, natural gas is in the area, electrical is in the area, but the water line was not. When Taco John's went in, there were several attempts to bore under Highway 81, and I believe they hit granite several times. And so it was decided to go another route to serve Taco John's. It was connected to an existing service line that was in place from the former Shady Lake Hotel. Pizza Hut's connected to a water line, to a water main already, but those 3 south lots, the one for eminent development, and then the one for lots 1 and 2 the city owns, do not have access to water right now at all. We're concerned that boring under the highway is not going to work based on the experience of Taco John's, and so we're requesting to extend the water line to help support that development that's going to go in just south of Taco John's. Talking with the property owner, they have intentions to open their business by the 3rd quarter of 2023, which is coming very quickly upon us. And so in order to help them meet their opening deadline, we really need to get a water line in place so that they can connect to it and finish their site paving and be ready to open for business by then. In order to get that water line done, we need to engage with an engineer, design the water line, have KPHE approve it, bid it out, and construct it. So that process is going to take some time. I have had conversations with the developer. They understand that there might be some work that has to occur simultaneously. The water line may not be in place before they're ready to start building on that site, and we'll work together to work through those issues. But tonight, would ask if you have any desire to proceed with that project, recognizing the price tag is about $240,000 to extend that 8-inch water main. And that would extend it from College Drive to 21st Street. The purpose of that would be to loop it between two existing mains. The loop lines are better, it provides some redundancy, helps to keep water flowing through those areas, and will provide enough water pressure for whatever develops along that area, whether it be a restaurant or retail type store or a service type store. So $240,170 is the updated estimate as of just a couple last week, I believe, to design and construct that line. We are planning to prorate a portion of that to the development that is to occur, and that prorated share is estimated at $55,000, and that's based on the lineal frontage of the lot compared to the lineal footage of the entire water line. That's how we figured that. The rest of the cost would fall to the city, and we are proposing to pay for $120,000 out of the water fund and $65,170 out of the CIP fund. You saw from our budget study session earlier today that those funds have been allocated and would be available to do that work. Then if you desire, at the point in time when lots 1 and 2 that the city currently owns are developed, we could go back and recover some of the cost of that water line and include that in the sale price, for example, to help recover some of those costs. So tonight we're asking if you desire to proceed, and if you desire to proceed, I'd request permission to go ahead and enter into a design contract with Campbell and Johnson to proceed with this work. You'll have in your memo that $240,000 includes an estimated design and construction inspection fee of $26,000. So that contract that we would enter into would be for that amount. Are there any questions?
I think it has to be done. You're going to develop. Will it help Taco John's, or are they?
It will. Taco John's will benefit in that right now, the service line that they're connected to provides them less than desirable pressure, but sufficient to perform their operations. They would increase their pressures and be able to perform better. They are also experienced a couple times a year where our staff has to go out and clean out some sediment out of their lines. And with Jeremy and his crew had to go in and make some modifications to help lessen that impact so that they continue to have water service. So that this would alleviate that concern as well.
So they would be put to this loop.
Yeah.
I think it would make it so that those other lots, we would be able to sell those quicker.
Absolutely, absolutely. We could then advertise them as having full access to utilities. That'd be great.
I think that's all right. Kat.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You need a motion.
If you want to formalize it to allow me to enter into that, you can. Otherwise, just your consensus is good enough. But
If you're all comfortable with that, we'll just move on to our action agenda. The minutes of the July 6th, 2022 meeting.
I move to approve the minutes of July 6, 2022.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Hash, a second by Commissioner Wentz to approve the minutes of the July 6th, 2022 meeting. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Appropriation ordinance number 13.
I had one question. I noticed that we had a lot of, like about $8,000 in stuff for the concession stands. How do those work? Is somebody hired to run them? And
There's the concessions at the pool and concession complex.
yeah,
I run the complex one. So then I have workers that work it during the day.
Yeah.
And then Josh Brown does the pool concession. He oversees that and does the ordering and stuff like that. And then all that revenue comes back into the city.
And it is more revenue than the expense.
Yeah.
We are seeing a lot more than, each year it's gone up.
that's good. I just was curious. I couldn't remember how it's done. Thank you.
And we do our part anytime we're out of bulk.
I move to approve appropriation ordinance number 13.
Second.
It's been a motion by Commissioner Wentz, a second by Commissioner Hash to approve appropriation ordinance number 13. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Ordinance 2022-3189, utility vehicles and golf carts on city streets.
Mayor and Commissioners, we looked at this during a study session during our last meeting and offered up some changes here for this time as you requested. Probably the major change is that we did add local registration requirements, annual registration through the city, where people would come in and show that they had proof of a driver's license, show that they had proof of ownership of the vehicle, and proof of insurance as if it was insured as a motor vehicle. And then they could receive a sticker and a flag with a number on it. And the purpose of that is just to show that they paid their registration. The flag with the number allows it to be a unique identifier, similar to a license plate on a car. So if there ever is any issue and officers need to identify it right away, they can more quickly identify who the vehicle belongs to. So those are a couple of changes. And there, I think that we had, I think that those were the main changes. So I would ask tonight that you go ahead and approve this ordinance, and then we would publish it and it would become effective upon publication. So right now it is illegal to operate golf carts on city streets. With the passage of this ordinance, it would be allowed again, and then we would ensure that it was incorporated into the standard traffic ordinance update later on this fall when we do that as well. Are there any questions?
Does it go into, are they gonna pay from the 1st of July to the 1st of July, or are they paying? I mean, are we prorating the rest of the year? How's
I
that,
hadn't thought about that.
how's that gonna work?
Recommendations?
Are we gonna let it go until the 1st of the year and then start?
The easiest would be probably from like August 1 to August 1.
Have the registrations be due August 1 every year? That would be the
Okay.
easiest.
So in other words, if you registered one in April, you would end up paying for the whole year.
Unless we decide to prorate it. If you like us to prorate it, we could add the sentence in there. before
I don't
publication to
know.
Help us remember
I
that.
would think that the annual renewal would make the most sense because it'd be less paperwork, make less trouble for,
I would rather do it like that,
yeah.
annual from whenever they come to buy it.
And I think that's the way that we do our general contractor licensing. There is no prorating
Okay.
happening there. So, and for this being such a low fee, that would, it wouldn't warrant that.
So the 1st of August would be good. Give them some time.
A
Realize it better
question I had was, is this something that you can get, like when I insure my car, I get a little proof of insurance? Do they do that for golf carts? I mean,
Is that what you guys are seeing? Okay. Let's say when I spoke with the insurance company, they said it can be written on a policy similar to a car. So, but I didn't ask the question of if you get a separate card for that, like you would a car. That
But
be
you
my
would have proof of
assumption.
insurance somehow.
Yes, yeah. I did not ask that question.
Service that can be provided by from the insurance agent.
Okay.
So when we're talking about the year, did we agree that it just be, and so if I started on March 1st, it goes to March 1st? We want to have it be dependent upon that. We're wanting it to be a rush for August. Is that?
You know, in the month of March, we do the free of dog tax. We typically have a rush there. So I would probably recommend that if it's August 1st, it's August 1st. And then if we have a rush in August, we have a rush in August. I don't know, Stacy, how do you feel about it?
I would rather not. Just personally, I
Yeah,
would
like
rather it
whenever
be
you come in.
annual whenever you come in.
I think
It's a
Like everybody
year
have a different
from that day.
that to me makes sense. Maybe I don't think about it until March or April when I'm ready to start getting out driving it, or that it's.
Cause then it'll be like with the dogs, well, they know they have 2 months before they have to renew, so they just don't do it for that 2 months sometimes. Instead of having to come pay for it for a partial year.
I think an annual registration based upon
Whenever they come in.
receipt. So I have that for 365 days.
So then that would be something that we would have to track on our system to make sure that we know who's going through and who's expired.
You know, honestly, my thought would be that it could be, I put it on law enforcement, but enforcement based. I mean, it's really not something that would need to be reviewed unless Chief Voss has me pulled over because I'm acting like a fool and, oh, we noticed that your registration hasn't been renewed and these sorts of things. So it would really minimize the impact to city staff unless it's warranted, at which point then we can have that to where
Well, there won't be any way for law enforcement to check if it's registered through the city, will it?
If we provide that list to dispatch, then they would
Oh.
have that to be able to double check it. And that's what I'm saying, we would have to track it, so we could provide that updated list every month to dispatch, for example. And then that way they would have that when the officer's called in.
Oh, sorry.
The only other way would be like your car tag.
Yeah,
where they're-
And the sticker that you provide could say the month and the year,
That's true. That's true. To show it with.
and it's supposed to be on there. Not, and that-
Yeah, I think the vast majority could be enforcement based. Doesn't include it.
The city still send out a reminder, hey, you're doing much. It's kind of
Dog
odd.
tags, I don't know.
Yeah, do we do that for dog tags or not? And I guess that's the beauty of having it always be done at the same time of year, is that then we do a mass advertisement like for dog tags saying they're due in March or whatever,
What's our fee going to be?
$25 a year.
So it's fairly minimal. Why not just do it the one time, like in August or whenever?
Other than we just have a massive rush during that time, but we handle it with dog tags. And it's okay. Is there anything else that happens in August that would make that more difficult to double up on?
Well, given what it is with April or the better time to go to the thing to come do it. If you're saying, can we get it out to use it?
That's true.
But we aren't
Now they're like,
talking
I don't-
about just golf carts, are we?
No, we're talking
No,
about
but the others
the,
are already generally.
Let's-
I mean, there's a lot of other vehicles driving around.
Still spring, summer vehicles.
so we're talking about golf carts, micro utility trucks, and worksite utility vehicles with a side by side is what we're talking about. I agree, with you. It does make some sense to have the registration be done in the spring before people start using it. If you do it at the end of the summer, then theoretically,
What about just making a calendar year, and then it's up to people's responsibility to take care of it?
we could do that too.
And then before I get out to drive it, I need to come up and renew my registration, so it's not necessarily due by January 1st, but before I operate it for that calendar year.
It needs to have a 2022 sticker on it.
Right,
Yeah.
and so I can come in at any point to do that, to where it doesn't necessarily focus the rush, because I don't know that there's gonna be a rush of people January 1st to come in. Do that, but before you drive it, go down, and then once you have it, you shouldn't have to, it should be fairly easy to just walk into the city. Renew your tags.
When would they do the mass reminder?
I kind of like the idea of people being responsible for themselves.
Well, I mean, we would all, yeah.
We could do a reminder in the spring.
Yeah.
Or you can do
And maybe you do it with it, maybe you do it with the dog tags, and reminder folks, if you haven't already, that before you operate these vehicles, we could dovetail it with that. If we're already doing one push, we could just
Right.
dovetail that in, and if you haven't already, with spring coming around, make sure that this is taken care of as well.
And tag their dog and their. Yeah.
Tag your dog and your divvy bug.
We're efficient, we're saving a trip.
But ignorance of the law is an appropriate defense.
It's not.
No.
It's not, that's right.
So then my question goes back, what do we do now? Do they pay?
You know what, if you don't want to pay $25 for 5 months, that is perfectly acceptable. You can wait till January 1st.
Just go-
$25
go
is
drive.
cheaper than gas.
You're right.
So if you don't want to do it, that's okay. That's okay.
So we could save this, this goes into effect 1/1/23. Would that be appropriate?
No,
No.
we'll be down here tomorrow. But I'm also willing to pay $25
Do you
to
have,
have it for 22.
do we have the materials needed
With
in order?
flags.
Not yet, we're not in there, We're not in yet.
I think if somebody doesn't want to do, we don't need to prorate it, but this is still 22.
Yeah,
If you don't want it, that's okay.
Grace period, warnings, giving out warnings instead of tickets to help educate people, is that kind of what you're suggesting? Yeah. If people are driving stupid and then officer stops them, they would get a warning for the rest of 2022, educate them that this new ordinance went into effect, and then enforcement would start 2023.
And I would say unless this is the third time that Lambert's has been pulled over,
Yeah.
you've been warned, you've been notified.
It's the second time we've already warned you, you're getting a ticket. I mean,
I think,
you know.
right. We I appreciate people's concerns about people not being good stewards of this. And I've had people say, well, you got kids driving around now, they shouldn't be driving around, period. So we can provide the education, but people are still responsible for acting responsibly. So we can give them a heads up, we can give them a warning, but after that, there's consequences to not making reasonable choices.
Okay, so we're saying annual registration fee that is not prorated. We're gonna base it on a calendar year, and that makes the stickers easy thing to do, because they just have a year, not a month. There's no tracking, because if it's 2023 and they've got a 2022 sticker, then they are expired, right? So that makes that tracking easier.
I think so. I mean, I'm not wanting to complicate this any more than we have to.
Right. And the purpose of the registration is to help us identify the vehicle more quickly as we're working to either stop them for having an infraction, or let's say, for example, something is stolen, we can identify it easier.
Yeah, I think it's also to help improve, because I think that there is liability. I mean, you're still operating a vehicle on city streets, and so you're taking on liability for that. And so there needs to be some demonstration of being able to ensure that.
Yeah.
I think it's worth noting too for the public is that when you're on a city street and if you don't have insurance, you get pulled over, oh, you don't have your $25 tag, we'll write you a ticket for that. But if you get a ticket for not having insurance, that liability, failure to have liability insurance by statute is a minimum of $300 fine. And so it gets real expensive real fast. I mean, that very likely could be your yearly premium for some of those. So just so folks know, that's a very expensive ticket.
The other thing that we have in here, I think Commissioner, you asked us to look in this last time, was lights required by state and local law for motorcycles. So we did some investigation into that, and this specific ordinance says we don't have to have turn signals, but what's required for motorcycles by state law is a headlamp. This ordinance says you don't have to have high and low beam, but you have to have a headlamp, you have to have tail lights, you have to have brake lights, and you need to have a mirror. So on your left side. So those would be the very minimum requirements that this ordinance requires by referencing state law. Does that seem reasonable?
I would be okay with just a mirror, whether we need to specify on the left or the not. I think having a mirror just where so many things are placed, but it has to be on the left side. It has to be on the left side.
By referencing state law, it would be on the left side for the driver. So are there, and forgive me, are there golf carts that still drive on the right side? I kind of remember some a long time ago that did that.
Cushman's.
Middle.
Yeah. Operate in the middle.
Yeah, there's something.
Are you okay, I guess, with still referencing what's in state law? That makes it easier and cleaner on our side, that it shortens it, and then state law changes, we don't have to worry about keeping up, we just reference and go with what's in there.
I think it should go into effect. Like this year, I think it needs to go into effect. Okay. I mean, that way people are like, oh yeah, I don't have to worry about that coming next year. I mean, I understand Chuck's point, just give them grace period.
Well,
When they get them out, you know, but.
I'm saying to start it now. My recommendation would be to start it now.
Just give them a warning and.
I think that I would think that at any time, I think it's okay to give a warning. My thought about, I think it's okay to help inform people. I think if I'm acting ridiculous, then that warning, I've kind of surrendered my opportunity for the warning. If I'm being completely reckless, then that, I think that we enforce that as being reckless. I think if somebody's, I think that officer discretion would play a part, but if honest to goodness, so I didn't know the left side specifically, so my car has a mirror in the center, so I'm driving down the road. Actually, it does need to be on the left side. I've got it. Okay, fair enough. I can do that. Right, I can get that. So that would be a situation, I think, in which there'd be a warning would be warranted. Okay, Lambert, I've told you 4 times now, we talked about this left-hand mirror. This is a ticket, right? Like I don't, so at that point, it's completely on my part, but I think that starting it now and just helping inform people along the way, but if they're acting ridiculous, then. Because I think there are those who will, as they will with anything.
If we start it now, and I have to ask the question, is there any rationale to maybe making it half price for 2022, since we're halfway through 2022, and then starting the full price in 2023, or does that make it too complicated?
Again, it's $25.
My thought on 25 is that it's ultimately, I mean, I know I've seen musings that this is just another government cash grab, but there's staff, our staff isn't doing half the job to get it done. Correct. And so I think if I have that much of a grievance about paying full price for half of a year, then I have the complete ability to wait until January 1st to get the maximum value for my dollars. If my desire to do this is to save money on gas, then $25 up front has already saved me. So for simplicity, for clarity,
Keep it simple.
people aren't obligated to do this. So if they choose to, they can.
Right.
So do we give them until the 1st of August? Get there?
But we don't have the
Okay.
supplies.
Same.
We don't have the supplies, so even though it'll go, do we put in it that it goes into effect the 1st of August and not?
It goes into effect upon publication. So theoretically, what we can do is we can make sure we have the supplies on hand before we have it
Yeah.
published, and then it's ready to go.
I can either publish it later or we can specify a date. Either one.
Are the supplies ordered? Is they're on their way?
No, good thing is we just decided we're adding a year to our stuff.
So I suppose it depends on when we can get the supplies.
So we might be best just to wait then until we have them on hand and then publish,
Yeah.
because the blade only needs a couple days notice. We can publish on our website immediately. That's our official notice.
I move to approve ordinance 2022-3189.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Belvin, a second by Commissioner Lamberts to approve ordinance 2022-3189. Is there any further discussion?
Is there any way I can ask the question?
Well, yeah, we can allow, typically it's during public comments.
Okay.
But yeah, it's your question.
I was just wondering, because I have a 4-wheeler ATV, which I can see better than a side-by-side. I can go just as fast. I got 2 mirrors, no lights, tail lights. And I didn't see that was included in that. I was wondering if they could, because I think Fairbury, Nebraska and Norton, Kansas has ATVs that they can run on the road. And you can see better, and you can hear better than on anything they did side-by-side.
And we did have a discussion about those last time. Remind me where we went with that.
We decided not to include them, and part of that was because we looked at what other cities had done, and most other cities in Kansas that have these kind of ordinances in place don't include those ATVs. They usually stick to the side-by-sides, they stick to the golf carts or micro utility trucks. Rationale, I'm not sure, but most people don't include those.
I don't know if that's a size thing. I mean, I don't know that factored into it or not, just that the other vehicles are just larger. I'm not sure if that was kind of.
I don't know if seatbelts come into play with it too or not. I'm not sure. I really don't know.
I was just wondering, because you could see a lot better than in a side-by-side. There's no blind spots. It seems like it'd be a little safer.
If that's something you want to bring up, or do you want to try this now and then reconsider it in a year, or if we get additional support to add that to it, we can always pass it again and add that to it later. Yeah, yeah.
So
Because I'd rather drive that back and forth than my big VA. Just try to help out, you know.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Okay, managers report.
Mayor and Commissioners, we have the annual league conference coming up October 8th to 10th in Overland Park, Kansas. So if you want to go, let me know. We typically try to limit it to 2 commissioners going. So let me know if you want to register for that. The early bird registration does expire here in a couple of days, but there is still more registration opportunities after that.
What are the dates on that?
October 8th through 10th in Overland Park. There's been a couple of strategic doing meetings being held that are kind of exciting for our community. You see some grassroots efforts come up, and one of them is our passionate pickleballers here. And you probably noticed a lot of people picking up that game over the last couple of years. There's some improvements recently at City Park, but it has gained some traction. So that there's a group talking about how do we create an indoor facility to ensure that we have some space during the winter months there, especially with the reopening of the middle school coming up this next year. And there's also a group that is passionate about starting some murals in town. We've probably been to Clay Center and some other towns that have had some murals. So that group has gained some traction and already has some funding, and they're working to locate some potential buildings right now. So they are, we do have representation from city staff on both of those to help ensure that we've got any regulations that are associated with those, that's communicated in to make sure that if there's any approvals that are needed by you guys, we can make sure we get back to those and have those happen. Last Friday, I got to attend a meeting at Cloud Corp related to housing. There was a representative from the Kansas Department of Commerce, Northwest Kansas Economic Innovation Center. Regina and Marcia were able to attend that meeting as well. So we learned a little bit about the $62 million that's being allocated by the state of Kansas toward housing needs in the state of Kansas. And I think we have some good opportunities. I think our community is really poised well to be able to use those funds. Very excited to get a hold of that housing study in the very near future to see if we can support those, support that feeling. Also on August 3rd, there is a community meeting at the elementary school regarding education in our local schools. So if you have an opportunity to attend, that would encourage you to. It starts at 11, should end by 2 o'clock again at the elementary school. The community is invited to attend, to listen and to offer input on the school safety and other things related to education.
I did send an email out to RSVP, so if somebody didn't get one, I can maybe forward mine.
And I plan on going, I don't know.
I plan on going, so.
So,
And it's a general public meeting, so how does that impact COMA if it's just a?
Oh, we wouldn't be making any decisions, so that's okay. We wouldn't be discussing anything amongst ourselves, so it doesn't violate COMA. We're just attending a public meeting that they are putting on. So we're not acting as the body or having a meeting.
Just be careful of gathering and talking, so it'd be best if you don't gather and
Yeah.
get together.
You guys all sit together on one side, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to disperse you guys. Yeah, that'd be great.
So that's all I have for you this evening. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Staff reports.
The budget ticket.
I'll start with Chuck. Chuck.
I have nothing.
I think the wall mural is a great addition. So I'm pretty excited to see where that goes.
Okay, and I don't have anything either. So with that, we will move on to our information agenda on the Broadway Plaza Christmas decoration.
We don't have to sit there and talk about this once it's the information agenda, but it's just there for you to see kind of what happened in that windstorm back in December. Knocked down the Christmas tree, broke some things, and we're working to replace it. So just some good information for you. If you have any questions, we're happy to answer those.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Wentz, second by Commissioner Hash to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, we are adjourned.